Well, another week of college football's in the books, and me and Shane are going to be here and talk about that tonight with you guys, including Big 12 hot seats. There might be a few of those coming up here real soon. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Voice of College Football, West Virginia style. I'm Joey Foster. With me there's Shane Statmiller. Statmiller, I can never say his daggone name right. Get it wrong every time. Shane, I got a question for you. Let's introduce you and get you started here. I got a big burning question for you. If I'd have told you back preseason that we're that halfway into this season, 6 games into this season, Texas Tech, Joey McGuire, Kalani Sitake, Matt Campbell, Deion Sanders, and Neil Brown were going to be the top 5 teams in the Big 12 after the first half of the season, what would you have said to me?
I might have believed 2 of those, but with all those thrown in the mix at the top, I would say you were going to have to get a P test.
We all thought Oklahoma State would be one of the teams to beat, right? Oklahoma State, and then of course Utah's still good, but they only played a couple of games in the Big 12. They do have a loss, but you've got the Big 12 is like wide friggin' open right now. I mean, there's only a couple of teams that are really out of it, right? One of those is Oklahoma State after yesterday's absolute thumping by West Virginia, and I love that. But there's only a very few teams that are really out of it in the Big 12, and those teams are like the Kansas. Kansas 0-3, Baylor's 0-3, and Oklahoma State's 0-3. Hey, the rest of the teams are really still in it. They could always turn it around and compete. But I think those 3 are completely out, and that's 2, Oklahoma State and Kansas, that are at the bottom of this conference at 0-3. That me and you both said would finish in the top half of this conference.
Well, a lot of things I said last week didn't fly. I thought, Iowa was going to hang a little bit with Ohio State. That didn't happen. I thought Vanderbilt was going to get pummeled. That didn't happen. I thought Kansas would be a top-tier Big 12 team just based off of the talent they had and the coaching. That didn't happen. Mike Gundy has laid 3 eggs in Big 12 conference play. I'll tell you what, I need to start using this magic 8-ball more.
Mm-hmm. We also, so we got a map up behind us, and this is an old map. This is before the 4 corners, isn't it? Come in. Although I do see Colorado. I think at that time Colorado had came in, and we didn't have a miss.
We made that last year, and it's just before this season. So, I figured your head or my head would cover that spot. So we do need to get BYU over here up in your corner, but we'll adjust that. But, guys, it is a very it's just a crazy Big 12. I mean, the parity. UCF, man, I thought they were going to do better also. I mean, every team that I thought was going to be legit are stumbling a bit. Now, honestly, is Oklahoma State going to lose every game in the Big 12? No, that's without a doubt. That's not going to happen. Kansas, Joey, do you think they're going to win any? How many games do you think they're going to win now?
Well, if you look at them, what they've got coming up this week, they play Houston. Well, actually, 2 weeks. They got a bye week. Then they play Houston. Now, can they get started back on their bye week like West Virginia did? We had a bye week and we came in and just destroyed Oklahoma State. Can Kansas take a bye week and get the ship corrected, right? And get it right and true and going down the middle of the ocean there? Can they get that going and take out Houston? But then, they got to face Kansas State still. They still have to face Iowa State. They still got to face BYU. They still got to face Colorado. So, yeah, it's not looking good right now for them.
So, but, one thing we were both pretty spot on with, and You can say broken clock is correct what once a day, but listen, Iowa State is legit. They're ranked at 11. When they roll into Morgantown, guys, that's going to be dynamite next week. So,
Caden, I see you after Brody says I've got a few things to say. Caden, I'm gonna drop a link here in just a little bit. We're gonna talk a little bit, and I'll drop a link and invite you guys in. Come on in with us and hang out. Talk a little bit of football. But football was a big thing yesterday. Look, the last time I seen that many type upsets for top level teams was 2007
yeah,
when
right
it was
before
just
West Virginia was
crazy.
#1. Yeah,
Yeah, when it was just crazy and nobody wanted to be number two because that meant you was going to lose the next
yeah.
week. Seems
Oregon.
like number one might be that spot this year. It seems like every time a team gets number one, right? Georgia, number one, lost. Alabama, number one, lost. Yeah, it's like, we're on a pattern here for a repeat of 2007 at the number one spot though this time, and that would be interesting. So I
Well,
haven't even looked at the top 25, the new top 25 poll right now, but let's talk about some scores yesterday. Let's look at this.
well,
Oregon business 31-10. Go ahead, Shane. I'm sorry.
no, I was just going to say Tennessee was a head scratcher, but Arkansas is a team that always, for the past 40 years, has. There's been 2 games every year Arkansas plays in the SEC. They punch above their weight, and
Mhm.
they showed up Tennessee. So
Yeah.
Volunteers were, I think, ranked 4, and now they're dropped to number 8. But Washington and Michigan. I was not sneezing. That's one that I had highlighted. I think Michigan was going to roll over them. But I don't know. Just Ole
Rolling
Miss.
down the scores.
Yeah,
If I roll down from the scores from yesterday, so
yeah, do it.
Oregon beats Michigan State 31-10. I
Yeah,
think that was pretty well expected. Michigan
yeah.
State's now 3-3.
Mhm.
Syracuse. Hey, I told everybody Syracuse couldn't upset UNLV. Watch out, UNLV. And it happened. Syracuse beat them 44-41. Vanderbilt upsetting Alabama. Nobody's seen that one coming 40-35. Biggest win ever in Vanderbilt history, without a doubt. There's not been a bigger win in Vanderbilt history than that. Iowa and Ohio State. Ohio State absolutely annihilated Iowa 35-7. I didn't see that coming. Did you, Shane? I figured that would be a lot closer game than that. I
What game was
figured
that? Iowa
Ohio.
State. Ohio State. I
Yeah,
thought that was going to be closer. Absolutely. I didn't
yeah,
think Ohio State was going to score more than, say, 24 points, 21 points max. I
yeah.
thought Iowa would maybe score 2 touchdowns and be 21-24. I thought it was going to be close. Thought it was going to be a standard Big Ten game. Defenses show up, and I'll tell you what, Ohio State is it's a good team this year.
And like you talked about Arkansas over Tennessee 19-14. Yeah, Arkansas is just one of those teams. They're sneaky and they
Yeah.
can take you out. Georgia had no trouble with Auburn 31-13. And Penn State had a little opposition from UCLA in the third quarter. They come, no, it wasn't third quarter, it was fourth quarter. UCLA scored 8 points in the fourth quarter, and it made the score look a little bit better. It's 27-11. Miami, God Almighty, Miami, who gave me gray hair last night and kept me up till 3:30 in the damn morning. They go on to beat California 39-38 on the last second play. Pretty much, I mean, last minute of the game, but Miami takes the lead in that game. Oh my gosh, let's talk about that one for a second, Shane, because Miami. Look, we both picked
Yep.
Miami to win the ACC this year. We both picked them
I
to
would
go
say
undefeated.
are the ponies we're whipping because we think they're legit teams. Joey and I, guys, we both agree. We talked to a few people early in the season, not early in the season for son of a gun. It was maybe March, April, or May. We start really talking to some folks and realizing that this Miami team, and we heard it from some fans that really don't toot their own horn. You know how most fans will say, "Oh, this is the year. This is the year." This fan's pretty even keel, and he kind of tuned us in on what was happening in Miami. And Joey and I
Yeah,
start paying attention, and sure enough, they're legit this year. They're a college football playoff team with national, not
yeah.
ACC title hopes, national championship hopes. So
Yeah, they didn't play like it last night. Their offense didn't come alive to the fourth quarter. But here's the point: A good team, they were down. What was the score? 38 to.
2 touchdowns, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were down 3 touchdowns, I believe.
Okay,
I think
okay.
we're down 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And Miami coming back to take that game and win it at Cal. They were at Cal, and you got to realize Miami's on the East Coast, so for them guys, it was 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
They're
that's
still
how
playing a football game.
guys you have a certain rhythm, and I think it's what circadian rhythm or whatever it is, but your body is just it's like I should be sleeping, dumbass. And
Yeah,
for those kids to go out there and you know, I'll tell you what, young men and young women have a rhythm. And if you get them out of that rhythm, it's going to throw them for a loop, their body, their mind, everything. And for these
sure.
guys to travel and to be playing at 3 in the morning, and it's literally, supposed to be midnight there, and it's 3 in the morning for them. That's just bad. That's just not good. That's just not good for the for.
It bothers me because they talk about safety, right? Oh, player safety, and they put all these crazy rules in, and they throw all these crazy flags for safety and stuff. But then they got players flying across the damn country in a time zone, 3 time zones over, and kicking them off at like 11 o'clock at night on the East Coast. That's crazy, they're that it's nuts. I just don't understand it. Where's the safety in that? Because those players, if that's going to keep up, and the same way for Cal. Look, Cal's coming over to the East Coast, so if them guys have a noon kickoff, well, for them boys, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. That their bodies are used to 9 o'clock in the morning and just still being in bed, or getting up and rubbing their eyes and maybe going to eat a bowl of cereal. They're not ready to play a football game at 9 o'clock in the morning. But guess what? All of a sudden they've got to. So yeah, it's going to take the ACC and it's going to take the new teams in the out of the pack that are going into the ACC, Stanford and Cal and them. It's going to take them some time to adjust going to the East Coast, but it's going to take the East Coast teams a lot of adjustments to go to the West Coast,
Yeah,
especially if they have them late kickoffs like that. That's just ridiculous.
they need to be creative with the scheduling, and I don't care. You have to have some understanding that the TV. I understand that TV deals need to be made, but I mean, playing at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when you could very easily play a 6 p.m. kickoff Eastern Standard Time, it
Yeah.
would be 3 o'clock back there. I mean, come on, guys.
Well, 3 o'clock here and it'd be noon back there. It's just
Well, next Friday,
it's
Oklahoma State has to go to BYU and play. Now, that's not as huge of a jump for them. That's just a couple hours. But, they're going to be playing at 10:15. So,
mhm.
for Oklahoma State, that's going to be 11:15 kickoff.
Texas A&M absolutely destroys Missouri. Missouri may be a pretender after all. They've been struggling all year long. They
I,
was undefeated going into yesterday, but they played the struggle bus quite a bit. That struggle bus caught up with them yesterday, and Texas A&M absolutely
that's the
annihilated
one I
them. Did you
picked.
see that game?
Yeah, that's the one I picked. And uh, you know, I think that's the only one that I picked out of these freaking upsets. Yeah, I really think that
Washington.
Missouri is a good team, but they're not an undefeated caliber team. I think they're going to have 2 losses going into the. I think they can make the SEC championship game, but I don't know. We'll see.
The sky's the limit says it set college players up for NFL travel. Okay, that's true. Here's the difference, though. NFL players are like over the age of 25 years old, and that means their brains are fully developed. Some of these kids are 17, 18 years old that are doing this. Their brains aren't even fully developed yet, and they're losing sleep. I worry about that. So talk about safety. Yes, I do. I think there's a big safety factor in that right there. Also, Washington all over Michigan. Now Washington and Michigan are both 4-2, so I don't really believe either one of them are going to be playoff teams. But Washington took Michigan out 27-17. USC, man, USC is just. I tell you, they look for Lincoln Riley to have the answers for them, and every year he's just disappointing them. And they go out yesterday, and Minnesota started rowing that boat, and USC had nothing for them. So, and then it come to the fourth quarter, Minnesota just absolutely laid them on them. It looked like USC got really tired in the
Well,
fourth quarter.
next week, Penn State's going to Southern California, and there's not going to be a Rose Bowl. It's just going to be a football game, no parades.
Yeah.
And USC is going to get their lunch, or maybe Penn State. Maybe USC bounces back. That's one I'm going to highlight with a big Sharpie.
I don't think. Here's what I think about that. I think Penn State's got the defense, and USC has no defense. Minnesota scores 24 points on them, right? 14 of them in the fourth quarter. If they were tired and couldn't cover the Minnesota players in the fourth quarter, what are they going to do against Penn State?
Yeah,
Penn State could score 3 touchdowns on them in the fourth quarter. So
and that's a 3:30 game. So that's going to be perfect for the Nittany Lions. So.
Yeah.
Did you? Hey, Joey.
Ole Miss, all the
Side note, Joey. Penn State got a new logo. It looks like a damn sock puppet with 4 teeth. Have you seen their new logo?
No.
I'll see if I can.
You have to bring it up and share it. I got to see this.
I'm pulling it up. But go ahead, Joey. I'll pull it up.
So he says, yes, but I work 10 hours a day as a young person all over the state as a plumber, so they can handle it. Plus, they party too. Well, yeah, they party. That's all part of it. And you work 10 hours a day as a person all over the state. All over the state or all over the United States? Because all over the state, you'd be in the same time zone. But all over the United States, I think it's hard on these kids. I'm telling you, if you got a kickoff out on the West Coast at 8 o'clock on the West Coast, that's 11 o'clock Eastern. Those boys at 11 o'clock on Saturday nights, they've already played their football games. They're sore. They've already got all their rest, and they're just laying around. They're playing some video games, and they're just having fun. Now you're taking them and completely changing it, and you're throwing them out on the West Coast, and Miami goes out to the West Coast to play Cal, and we've seen what happened. Miami had to come back in the fourth quarter at 2:30 in the morning on the East Coast to win that game, and I think that time change had a lot to do with that. I'm sorry, because Miami is. If that game would have been in Miami, Miami would have absolutely annihilated Cal. So.
I'll show you here real quick, kids. So, if you don't think this looks like a sock puppet, it's the ugliest looking thing. Look at this one. Just is all white. It looks like someone literally has. It's like lamb chop with 4 teeth. Is that the stupidest thing?
Yeah, it does look like a sock puppet.
Yeah. It does not. The mouth doesn't even look like it. It looks like it has a little face in a face. Oh my gosh! It couldn't get any worse for these guys. And then this one looks like it has jammies on. Look at that. That's horrible. That looks like a bear.
That is horrible.
Teddy bear.
No, hopefully the mascot looks better than the logo mascot.
Oh, it's bad, guys. You Google that. It looks like something from a nightmare. But anyways.
Ole Miss made a comeback and jumped all over South Carolina early and often. They went up in this game 24-3 at halftime, and it was pretty much over from there for South Carolina. And Ole Miss went on to win 27-3 after South Carolina. And I think South Carolina was a better team than people think. South Carolina had lost to LSU, but they had 16 points taken off the scoreboard by the referees in that game. And believe me, there was no penalties. I mean, I watched the game. There was stupid calls. South Carolina absolutely beat LSU. I tell you right now, South Carolina should have been defeated yesterday going into that game. Now they got 2 losses after losing to Ole Miss 27-3. Clemson jumped on Florida State 29-13. They jumped early too, and then just didn't look back and stuff. And Florida State, obviously, just a dumpster fire right now. Can't get anything going. Another dumpster fire, Baylor. Just got absolutely annihilated by Iowa State. Baylor looked good at the first first series or two. They jumped out to like a 14-3 lead. And Baylor was like looking good. Hey, it's 14-3. Baylor's coming back and looking good. And then what happened?
There's a post and a post that they just didn't cover. Baylor didn't cover, and they start opening up. And by the third quarter, it was over. It just seemed like that secondary just collapsed.
Yeah. Number 21, Boise State 62, Utah State 30. No problem there. Another one, big upset. Poor old Dave Brown. Is Dave Brown out there watching this today? Dave Brown, if you're watching, type in something. Dave Brown, I feel so bad for you. I was rooting for Louisville for you, man. I really was, and stuff. And I watched this game, and it was really such a good game, because here we are, fourth quarter. It's tied up 27-27, and then SMU scores a touchdown. Louisville just can't answer. Did you watch any of that game, Shane?
Well, you know what I did, and guess what? They rolled out Eric Dickerson without the gold Trans Am, and when Dickerson is there and those kids are getting hyped up, SMU's going to have a big day, and they did.
Yeah. So that's a big victory for SMU. SMU is now 5-1, and 2-0 in the ACC. So watch out, ACC. SMU is right up there.
Another team that's 5-0 that I was working at this military academy when they had lost 22 games straight and broke that record by actually winning a game. West Point, Army, Usama Rah, 5-0. Go Army.
How about that? Way to go. Go Army. All right. Now, a team that's probably surprise team to most people, surprise team to me, big surprise in the Big Ten. Indiana is 6-0 now. 3-0 in the Big Ten. After taking care of Northwestern yesterday, 41-24. Wow, Indiana was 23rd in the country. Wow, Indiana right now sitting at 6-0. Man, that they got to feel pretty good about themselves.
Kurt Signetti, his dad coached at West Virginia and then moved to my hometown of Indiana, PA, and coached IUP. And IUP this week was in the NIAI, whatever division they're in, played number 6 Slippery Rock, and it was a 32-31 game. So, that ties into, Signetti's dad retired and is in the Hall of Fame for IUP as a coach. He did, took him to they almost won a national championship there. But, Kurt, a West Virginia guy, a Mountaineer, and he is showing those Indiana Hoosiers, which his dad coached at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. So it's kind of crazy. It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right?
I tell you what's crazy is if you told me to name all the head coaches right now in Power 4, the head coaches in Power 4 that are from the state of West Virginia that have not won a national championship, Kurt Signetti would probably be the only one you could think of. And look, he's got Indiana at 6-0. Indiana, this isn't Ohio State. This is Indiana at 6-0. So.
No.
What is it about coaches from West Virginia? What is that? I mean, it's crazy.
I don't know. I mean, Lou Holtz is a good coach, but he got his natty. So did Jimbo Fisher. There's just a handful that haven't gotten one. Rich Rod didn't get one.
Nick Saban's got one. Fred Yost. He got so many it wasn't even funny. I mean, some of these guys from West Virginia, it would be harder to name coaches that have not won national championships that were head coaches in Power 4 from West Virginia.
That's true.
Anyway, I will go ahead and drop a link. Let's see if anybody would like to come in and just say something. Say hi. You come in and say hi, bye, kiss my ass, whatever you like to say. Tell us off. Tell us how stupid we are. Tell us you told us so.
Ticket office called me back about the problem I'm having with the one guy in my section. So they might take care of me. We'll see. All hope's not lost. Caden the man. Good to have you.
Hold on 1 second. Let me bring you up here, Caden. I'm going to bring you up. But one thing that we do around here, we don't. Well, I said do. We don't do. But one thing we do around here, we bring this up. How you doing, Caden? Nice to have you in here, buddy.
Hey, Shane, Joey, good to see y'all. First time caller into the Big 12 fan zone.
We like to have fun in the fan zone now. In the fan zone, that's what it is. It's about you guys just talking, having fun, and that's what we like.
No, because you know what? I've been watching your guys' show, but I've never called in. I'm a Ohio State man. As you know, as I said it before, I'm a Buckeye man. But you know what? I've been watching the Big 12 for the last 6 weeks, and you know what? I'm thinking, hey, there's a possible chance that there could be 2 or 3 Big 12 teams in the playoffs that I'd be excited to see play some good football.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
Caden, I grew up. I grew up in central Pennsylvania, so going to Penn State games, and then I went to school West Virginia. So, I still live in north of Pittsburgh, so I'm right on the cusp of where Penn State fans end and Ohio State fans. You start to see the Walmart fans. The Walmart fans, the guys that live a little too far from the stadium, so they got to get their shit at Walmart. So that's what I start to see when I get, out towards, Youngstown and that. But it's really great to have a Big Ten fan on here that watches Big 12, because I think as far as product goes, the Big 12 has more parity. Now, I say that, and Indiana is playing ball. So, I guess there's always an outlier, but what a year for college football. Penn State's on the up, Michigan's on the down, which is always good. And then you have Indiana, playing some good ball. Minnesota didn't look too bad last week. So what are your thoughts about, expectations in the Big Ten and the Big 12?
Big 12, I see either West Virginia, Cincinnati in the next 2, maybe 3 years, Central Florida, Kansas State, maybe Kansas. Somebody coming into the college football playoffs and actually playing some good football, and actually maybe giving my Buckeyes a little bit of a challenge, because clearly as far as I'm concerned about the Buckeyes schedule, I don't see no competition, because after that Iowa game, I pretty much know that Ohio State's going undefeated, and they're going, all the way without no questions asked.
I agree. The only bump might be, beating Penn State by, 10 points in the championship.
I can, a lot of people say Valley's the toughest place in the Big Ten. That's not the only toughest place in the Big Ten. You got to understand Columbus is a tough place to play, especially when you come up to Columbus. Now, I'm not trying to disgrace no Big 12 fans about coming up to Columbus. Now, the last time Ohio State has played a Big 12 team was, I believe, 2019 against Cincinnati. And then before that was Kansas State and then West Virginia. I watched the highlight tapes on those games, and I said, you know what? I said West Virginia then and West Virginia now, it looks like they're trying to get back up on the road, and they're trying to say, hey, we're not just this average team from West Virginia. We're an actual serious team coming up to actually play in the college football playoffs one day. And I give West Virginia credit.
That's how we feel. We felt like that at the beginning of the season. We felt like, we can compete with this Penn State team. I didn't feel like we could beat them, but I felt like we could compete with them, and we did.
And y'all competed with them. Y'all competed with them.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Garrett Green, I think that young man had a case of the nerves. And I think see what happened, Jaden, is I was there and I watched the Mountaineers take over off of a fumble. They got good possession on the 30 in the red zone. That next snap went over his head, and that was curtains. It looked like the air went out of the stadium. Those kids they looked like they were shell-shocked after one play. I thought the mental side of the game had taken over. I thought that the season was lost because these kids just were weak. And that wasn't the case. They turned it around, and they definitely are mentally tough and physically tough. But that game was lost in the first quarter. I left like the beginning of the second quarter. I drove 2 hours back home. So, yeah.
Yeah. If I'm looking right now, okay, I was looking at the Ohio State schedule. Y'all can get by Oregon next week. That's going to be a big win. Traveling out to Oregon. But I think we've seen this out of the Pac-12 teams. They can't really compete too well in the Big Ten right now.
No.
I mean, if we're looking at them, Washington's not done too well. USC's not doing well. USC just looked like they were just wore out yesterday in the fourth quarter against Minnesota. They just looked like they were wore down to me. And it showed too when Minnesota scored 14 points in the fourth quarter, and USC got none. So so you go out to Oregon. Oregon, one of them teams, they came in here a couple years ago and got you guys. I remember that. I mean, they laid it to you. So you owe them one at their house, right? So I feel like it's your.
I mean, Joey, let's be honest. We got some payback about to be handed to Oregon. And Scott is limit said, these are great guys, Caden. You know what? I've been watching the show, and honestly, I can personally believe that Shane and Joey are the.
Uh-oh.
We lost him. He's going to pay us a compliment.
I know it. We lost him. He just dropped. Well, crap. I hope he didn't think we threw him out.
No, we didn't throw him out.
We sure wouldn't throw him out.
Coming through. It just hit my house like hail and whatnot. In fact, I'm sitting there putting I put my feet up in the air because my pants are wet because I went out to get a couple potted plants. But
there he is back.
You're
sorry, Cade.
You're just
sorry. My phone acted up again. But no, I literally am a big fan of Shane and Joey's, and I can tell you what. Listen to the Big 12 Fan Zone every week, and I'll tell you what. There's teams in the Big 12 I foresee going to the college football playoffs.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Hell, I could see Utah competing back in the playoffs. I mean, Utah gave us a problem in the Rose Bowl, so I don't know.
Yeah, Utah's a good team. Utah's a real good team. They dropped one this year. They shouldn't have dropped, but still, they're a good team, and they'll be back. There's no doubt about it. But right now they are having a little bit of issues.
And then Arizona, I give them maybe another year or two just to try to get their self, to get back in the rhythm of things and actually figure out the ways to actually win the bigger games on the bigger stages when they need to. Because those bigger games, they can't be losing those games where it's key, where it's like, okay, Arizona, you got it. You need to represent the Big 12 with all your heart and soul. I give Arizona credit for trying to fight back in the season, but it's like, come on. You're in the toughest division, one of the toughest conferences in college football. Not saying like the Big 12 is garbage or the Big 10's garbage or anything like that, but personally for me, I'm like, I look at the Big 12 now. I'm like, geez, this is a tough conference that's coming up to be actually a serious conference.
Yeah, you look at Arizona, and they were a preseason darling in a lot of people's. Arizona and Utah are going to dominate the Big 12, and they come in here and so first off, Kansas State absolutely hands it to Arizona, 31-7. Arizona looked absolutely horrible, and then Arizona turns around and beats Utah, who turned around and lost to oh God, who was it that beat Utah? But then Texas Tech yesterday beats Arizona. So these Pac-12 teams that come in here thought they was going to have a soft ride. I kept saying to myself, I don't know who y'all been watching, but the Big 12 is not the Pac-12. I mean, that's a lot better conference. It was top to bottom when Oklahoma and Texas were in there, and it still is.
Yeah,
it still is. So I still think there are some really good teams out of the Pac-12, that came out of the Pac-12, and now they're in the Big 10. Oregon and Washington and them. I think they're really good. I think USC's a good team. Arizona and Utah Utah especially was dominating the Pac-12 for a couple of years. And they've come into Big 12 now, and they've learned that, hey, these are pretty tough games. Now all of a sudden, these are tough games. This is hard, and they lost. So I would like to see. I like to see that parity though. Because look, let's face it, the Big 12 is not by far the best conference, right? The SEC and Big 10 are far above them when it comes to the top of the charts, the top of the conference. But when you look all the way from top to bottom of the Big 12, we've probably got more better teams or good to great teams than the SEC and Big 10 do in the middle of their conference. That's how I feel.
Now I'm going to have to tell you, Joey, the Big 12 and now this is from a Buckeye fan, and I'm gonna be honest with you. What you said about the Big 12, you know how the Big 10 and SEC are the top two right now.
Yeah.
You're literally the Big 12 is up there with the Big 10 and the SEC. Y'all don't play around. When you want to play physical football, you play physical football. Kansas State showed that to Arizona. You know, I watched that game and I said, "Dang, Kansas State means business."
Iowa State. What about Iowa State showing Iowa the door? Now Iowa lost to Ohio State this week.
Mm-hmm.
But you know,
Iowa State's a good team.
You know, that was at home in Columbus, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in home at Columbus.
So it's different playing an away game than playing a home game and losing to Iowa State. So,
I mean, Iowa State's a good team. I'm not going to give them no really crap about that. And
but they do more with less. I mean, they don't. These teams don't have the stellar depth. They don't have 4 or 5 star guys too deep at certain positions, and they don't have the funds. So it just seems to be, I think I love watching like Penn State, Ohio State. Okay, but Penn State, Northwestern, or Rutgers, and now Rutgers is doing good, but Rutgers and Ohio State, I'm gonna just flip through that. I want to watch some parity. I want to watch two teams that are it's competitive. So, I'm gonna have to pop off here. We're having a bad.
I was getting ready to say, Shane, the Pittsburgh Steelers are calling and wanting you there. So
yeah, I do a live stream. of the Steelers game I'm on the Steelers Dynasty podcast. And then I have a West Virginia Mountaineer Mafia show. So, Joey is my true love, my first and my only. Me and him go way back, and he's my partner in crime. But on Sundays I do this Steelers thing. So I'm not a huge NFL fan. I enjoy it. I kind of keep my other co-host on an even keel. Joey keeps me on an even keel because I am just batshit crazy college football fan. But thanks for having me, Joey.
All right, Shane. Talk to you later, brother.
Hey,
Shane, see you later.
In the chat, you let's go Mountaineers.
Hey, maybe we'll see the Mountaineers in the playoffs.
Maybe.
Hey, possibility, right? I mean, because all we've got to do, Caden, like you're saying, we just got to win the Big 12. And right now, we're tied for the lead in the Big 12. I mean, there's teams that are 3-0 in the Big 12. We're 2-0 in the Big 12, but we still don't have a loss. So.
I mean, here's the thing. Y'all played Penn State in week 1 and showed them that actually the Big 12 is. You showed West Virginia why West Virginia is a top tier team. Why Penn State wasn't ready for the Morgantown. Now Ohio State did play in Morgantown, and that was in 1998. Now that game came down to the wire. When it came down to the wire, when Ohio State came up, and I don't mean no disrespect to the Mountaineer fans. I mean no disrespect, zero. But that's one of the toughest places John Cooper said he ever played at. One of the toughest. And that was Morgantown, West Virginia. And that was home to the West Virginia Mountaineers. And, if Ohio State were to travel down right now to Morgantown, I'd say that'd be a close game right now. Close game.
It seems like y'all won that game like 34-17 or something. But it was closer than that, really.
34-17. And I watched that tape again. I was like, if the Buckeyes were to go down to Morgantown and, play a good 60-minute football game, it'd be close. And I'm not going to be like, oh, we blow them out. Like, there's teams that we blow out, and then there's the teams that actually they play a good game against Ohio State. West Virginia, on the other hand, is one of those teams that actually plays a good game against a top-tier school like Penn State. I watched that game, and I didn't stay off the TV. I was like, I wanted to watch this. I thought I had, high hopes for you guys upsetting Penn State that game.
Yeah.
There
was so much. I think what hurt us was there was just so much going on in Morgantown. So Pat McAfee comes in on Friday night, does his show live from Morgantown on Friday. He has Neil Brown, he has Garrett Green, he has the Runaway Beer Truck and Owen Schmidt, he's got Major Harris sitting there, and it was just this big thing. It was huge. And I think it really got in our players' heads. And we didn't play that game like we should have. I'm not saying we could beat Penn State because I still say Penn State's a better team. But we should have hung a lot better. I had Penn State winning that game, but I had them winning close one, like 31-27, 31-28, somewhere around there. That's where I figured it would be. And but yeah,
and what was the final score of that game? Though I need to be reminded again about what was the final score of that game.
You'd have to tell me. I can't remember either because that was week 1. Let me go back here and I can tell you. Let me find West Virginia, and I'll tell you what the final score of the game was. Penn State won that game. Well, I went too far. Penn State 34-12. So
I mean, still that's a good margin. That's still letting Penn State know, like, if they come back to Morgantown, you give them a run for their money. You ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if Ohio State were to go down there, we'd be in a close game.
Again. Well, just to say this to you, Penn State beat us 34-12, and yesterday we beat Oklahoma State 38-14. Same margin of victory. Oklahoma State couldn't beat us if we played the next 4 times. It was so lopsided. West Virginia just absolutely destroyed Oklahoma State. And I would feel the same way about Penn State too. If we played them 4 more times this year, we'd probably lose 4 more times. I think Penn State's just a better team right now. I'm not saying West Virginia's bad. I think we're a good team. But let's face it, Penn State's a great team. There's no doubt about it. They're a top 10.
No, hold it right there, Joey. Now let me just say this to you, so you can at least put this in your mind. West Virginia in that Penn State game did not play bad. They played like an actual. They let Penn State know they mean business, and when let Penn State know you mean business, you're gonna put them on notice, and they're gonna know, like, oh crap, don't put them on our schedule again.
One thing I feel like happened in that Penn State game was we played. One thing I feel like happened in the Penn State game, we played into their hands. So we dropped Garrett Green back in the pocket quite a bit to throw the ball down the field. They got a pretty daggone good secondary. Garrett Green's a good pocket thrower. He's a good passer, but he's a lot better when he's scrambling and throwing it. We've seen that yesterday. He'd scramble around, throw a pass, and we complete it for 10, 15, 20 yards. That's the Garrett Green that I like. He don't have to throw a lot of passes because we got such a powerful running game. That Penn State game, it seemed like we didn't do nothing but throw passes. We threw a lot of passes and stuff. And mind you, a lot of that was because we had to come from behind, but we fell behind because we was throwing passes. I think if we'd have just stuck to our normal running game and putting Garrett Green out on the edge and with an RPO and stuff, we probably could have played a lot better in that Penn State game. And maybe even beat them. Who knows? Maybe even beat them, upset them. So I think there was a little bit about where we were as a team at that moment. I think there was some changes that took place over the course of the year, especially in our secondary. Our secondary looked pretty decent yesterday against a Big 12 Oklahoma State team. I have to give our secondary, they gave in a little bit, and Oklahoma State caught a couple of big ones. But for the most part, they were shut down. And Ollie Gordon, look, Oklahoma State yesterday as a team had 36 total yards rushing. That's with Ollie Gordon, the best running back in the country, coming back this season.
Mm-hmm.
And they had 36 yards rushing. Our defensive line is stout, and we shut Penn State down at the front too. And we had a lot of sacks. Pitt, we had 12 tackles for loss. 2 minutes into the third quarter, we had already had 12 tackles for loss. Had already sacked the quarterback a couple of times. Our defensive line is stout and really, really good and really quick, really fast. Our secondary is where we struggle, and yesterday it seemed like we came back, and I like that. I like to see that out of West Virginia. I like to see improvement from week to week.
I feel like West Virginia is going to improve as it goes, and by the time they get improved within the year, I foresee within the year right now, that if they improve right now, and I feel like they're going to still be improving over the next week, and when you even take a bye week off, it's still you're improving that defense, you're improving that secondary, that D line is good, and even in that Oklahoma State game, I mean, you guys played Oklahoma State out like a ball team. You went out there and let them know you mean business.
We did.
And give West Virginia credit. They shut them down like they should have. And you know what? The backyard brawl. Let me say it. The backyard brawl is as big as Ohio State against that team up north from that state up north. And I won't say who, but if there's if West Virginia fans are listening to this show, could you please let me know in the chat right now? Let me know that y'all are listening in the show and that Mountaineers, where are you? Come on.
Yeah, there's some Mountaineers in there. We don't have too many that type in chat, though. We don't have too many that type in chat. Kelly's probably out there somewhere. Kelly McCourt and Tim Green, they're probably out there somewhere. They probably haven't typed in yet. Kelly and Tim, you out there with us, buddies? And this was a out of the blue live show tonight. I usually do this like at 2:00 in the afternoon on Sundays, but I stayed up too damn late last night thanks to Miami playing out on the West Coast. So I wanted to watch that game. The game coming up. Hey, a game coming up this week. I want to ask you about it. Iowa State's coming to Morgantown. It's going to be a night game this Saturday. Kickoff, I think, at 7:30 or 8 o'clock. Night game. Iowa State and Morgantown. Iowa State number 11 in the country right now. They're number 11. West Virginia's not ranked, but West Virginia's only got a loss to Pitt and Penn State, and Pitt's undefeated. Pitt and Penn State are both undefeated right now, and both of them look pretty daggone good. So that's two losses that maybe not so bad. So Iowa State coming in ranked number 11 in the country. What's your thoughts about that game?
I mean, if you're going to be asking a Buckeye fan, honestly, I feel like Iowa State's going to play a good game, but I feel like, you're going to be in Morgantown. You're going to be where, the navy and yellow, where the Mountaineers that, wear the raccoon caps, that wear their nice West Virginia helmets, they're going to give you a hard time because you're going to be in Morgantown, for God darn sake. And I said to Iowa State fans, you better be prepared because Morgantown is not somewhere you want to be on a Friday night, on a Saturday night. Because when they bring the physicality, they're going to bring the physicality. Iowa State's going to bring the physicality too. So I'll say there's going to be a close physical game, but I mean, that's just my honest opinion. I see it going either way, 50-50, physicality-wise.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good game. Matt Campbell coached Iowa State teams really, really good. And I can remember, there was just some times that, West Virginia, 2018, West Virginia was really good. We were undefeated. We had done beat Tennessee. We had done beat quite a few ranked teams. We were undefeated. I think we were 6-0. And we're going to the Iowa State. And Iowa State was a dumpster fire. They had won one or two games. They didn't look good. And we went in there and they handed us our ass. I mean, literally handed us our ass. I think the final score of that game, 41-12 or something.
Y'all were predicting one that year, and I remember you guys going with one loss. I literally called the college football playoff commission. I said, you need to put West Virginia in there next to Ohio State. I wanted to see a doggone rematch.
Well, West Virginia lost a few games that year, but I mean, we had a good season. We had a decent season. We ended up going, to a decent bowl, but I think we ended up losing the bowl game, or did we win it? I can't remember now.
You won that bowl game.
Yeah, that may be. I was thinking we played Miami and Miami beat us. That might have been 2017.
That was 2017. Y'all played Miami.
Yeah.
But I'm being honest with you, Joey. West Virginia, like I said again, and I'm going to say this again to all Mountaineer fans listening. This is a Buckeye fan talking about West Virginia. Note that. This is an Ohio State guy. Scarlet Gray. The guys that wear the Buckeye leaves on our helmets, beating people up on Saturdays in Columbus or on the road. This is the Big Ten guy talking on a Big 12 show, for doggone sake. And I'm not going to brag about Ohio State, blowing people out or blah, 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 blah. But I mean, and this is a Big 12 show, so I'm going to respect all the Big 12 folk on here. And that's including our little brother down in Cincinnati. I foresee Cincinnati going to the playoffs. I foresee West Virginia next year, like I said, going to the playoffs. I foresee Kansas. I got good hopes for UCF. I feel like they can bring it. Colorado's a good team, and I foresee that maybe them. And maybe in the next couple of years, Cincinnati, Colorado, and Kansas. But as far as this year goes, I foresee UCF, Kansas State, West Virginia, and shoot, Kansas State, Utah. No, not Utah. Utah lost. Utah lost. Sorry, Utah. Iowa State. Excuse me, Iowa State. I've got a couple of those guys coming in, going in the playoffs, and actually giving maybe Ohio State or Georgia a run for their money. Giving us
Yeah,
a close.
it could very well happen that whoever loses this week between West Virginia and Iowa State don't lose any more the rest of the year, and so that if they get a loss, they could still be in because they'd only have one loss in the Big 12. They could still be in the championship game and make the playoffs. So I think a loss to either Iowa State or West Virginia this week doesn't knock them out at this point. I think they could both go undefeated the rest of the year.
And Iowa State and West Virginia could still make it to the playoffs, even if it goes 50-50. They could still make it to go to the playoffs if Alabama loses again to Georgia, in the SEC title game, if Miami beats Clemson, and Michigan loses, twice, loses once to Ohio State again, and vice versa. So I could see y'all coming into the playoffs and Kansas State going into the playoffs with other, UCF, Ohio State, West Virginia. I foresee maybe those three, right, or 3 or 4, giving a good 5, and then Power 5, someone from the Power 5, Power 4. But that's just my opinion. Now, I got a lot of people on here that talk like the Big 12 is not a big thing. I've literally stated this for the last 6 weeks. I've literally said the Big 12 is a legit conference. You cannot be down talking the Big 12 like that, because I told people I foresee 2-3 teams from the Big 12, hell, even 4 teams from the Big 12 going in the playoffs. Kansas State, Ohio State rematch in the Fiesta Bowl, a rematch from Ohio State, West Virginia in 1980 in Morgantown. It's in a neutral site game. It's not in Columbus or Morgantown, but still, it's going to be a good game. The UCF Ohio State, give us a rematch, or maybe a first time ever match. But there's teams I foresee, but as far as like the ACC goes, Miami's the only good team. As far as the SEC, I foresee Georgia going in and losing that one game to Bama, but just coming back and hauling Texas's ass and beating everybody else in Ohio State. I'm only saying this just because I feel like the Oregon, Michigan, and Penn State game ain't gonna be really tough. I mean, Happy Valley is a hard place to play with that whiteout, but I'm not intimidated by a whiteout, and nor is Ohio State. And I know that defense at Ohio State is ready to play. Even that, that's that veteran experience in Happy Valley. And we got Aaron Nolan to back up. So,
when you look at the SEC right now, everybody's got a loss. It's just Texas. Alabama losing, to Vanderbilt, and then Georgia losing to Alabama. And everybody's like beating up on each other. South Carolina lost to LSU and shouldn't have. Really shouldn't have. South Carolina beat LSU, but then they turned around and lost yesterday too. Missouri, who was looking good, they lost yesterday. There's just, the SEC's like losing within their conference quite a bit often here today, this year.
No, but I get that the SEC is a bloody mess, and it's a whole bloody mess down there. And they're trying to beat up on each other to the point where they're going to beat each other to a bloody pulp. And someone's not going to have a healthy team going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I only say Georgia's going to be in it because, they're going to have the game against Texas, win that close, and then win the rest by, 40, 45, 49 points, and then go in the SEC game and beat Alabama to a bloody pulp, and then be like, oh, we're 12-1, 11-1, 12-1,
Gotta win the thing. I hope we don't
enough of the SEC and everybody else. And let me just circle. Let me get back to the Big 12, because this is a Big 12 zone. This is a Big 12 fan zone, and this is a conference, in my opinion. And you could probably, and Michigan fans will probably come on here and talk all their crap. But let me be the first Buckeye fan to tell you honestly, I foresee someone coming to the playoffs from the Big 12, and I don't. And if anyone says crap about the Big 12. You just tell them that Ohio State fan said, they foresee, maybe even hell, West Virginia beat Michigan in a neutral site game. Well, Iowa State beating, Alabama, or West Virginia beats Penn State. I foresee it. It's not like a one-off chance. In this world of college football, it can happen. Craziest stuff have happened, like TCU blowing out Michigan the one year. So you never know.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, Caden, and then we're going to have to end this show. But I want to ask you a question real quick. Would you rather be, as an Ohio State fan, would you rather be first four in and get a home game and a bye week, or first four out? I'm sorry, first four went, it went in and get a bye week, or first four out and get a home game?
I think the first four, then a bye week, because then it gives us time to prepare for whoever comes up next. Because if we get out and then I'd rather have a neutral site game where it's like, okay, we get to see what this team is capable of. It's a fair game. It's a fair, it's on fair ground. Like, it ain't like someone's got the home advantage, someone's got the home advantage here. But I'd rather see it first, and then if Ohio State schedules them, if they schedule West Virginia, bring them up to Columbus, or we go down to Morgantown, or we go up to Iowa State, or they come down here, or Kansas State comes out of Columbus, or we go to Kansas State. I get an idea about who, in the Big 12, right now, I want to see somebody give Ohio State a run for their money, and I foresee maybe two, three of y'all, and they did give Ohio State a little bit of a hard time eventually. Not saying that. And it could even happen now. I
really believe there's a couple of teams in the Big 12 that could give Ohio State a hard time right now.
Kansas State, West Virginia, and UCF. I got them going.
But Utah too would probably give you a rough time. I think anybody you play out of the Big 12 obviously is going to be hyped up to play that game. You're playing Ohio State, and it's out of conference, and a big game for the Big 12 in general if something like that happens, just like Penn State and West Virginia was. So they're going to be hyped up. But the ones that I think the ones that can legitimately stay with you for 4 quarters, I believe you named that. I would put Utah in there. I'd put Kansas State. I'd put West Virginia. I would even put Oklahoma State in there if they can play like they're supposed to play. For some reason, they're not playing ball right now.
Right.
But they're going to turn it on against somebody. So here's a West Virginia fan coming in here. Our losses in hindsight don't look bad at all, and on the flip side, our wins don't look great given who they are over. Hard to know what to expect Saturday night. I agree, Drew. I agree 100%. I don't know what to expect. I haven't sat down and decided who I'm going to pick in this game. West Virginia and Iowa State. Obviously, West Virginia playing a home game. It's going to be night game. Black uniforms, laser lights, the whole show, the whole shebang, right? And sold out stadium. That's going to play a huge factor, and that's going to give West Virginia an automatic, in my book, 4 or 5 points. And then I got to look at the teams and do the matchups and figure it out. So I feel like I'm looking forward to this game against Iowa State this week and everything.
And I'll be watching Iowa State versus West Virginia. And Drew and Don, if you guys are on the if you guys are here, I'd rather you guys come on the show and could someone, Drew or Don, could y'all come on right now? Because I'd like to tell you personally, West Virginia and Iowa State are 2 good teams that can play 60 minutes of doggone college football. And that's and like I said, now if Drew wants to come on here, feel free to tell me what you feel like, because I'd rather hear a West Virginia fan tell me honestly, because I've had other West Virginia fans tell me like, we could not. It's kind of 50-50, but I want to hear it from, other West Virginia fans what they think about what I'm saying.
Well, I tell you what to do. Caden. Come back with us Tuesday night. Me and Shane do a show on Tuesday night, and we also do one on Thursday. On Tuesday, though, we talk about different things. We talk about we'll do it in segments. And so we're going to cover this West Virginia Iowa State game really hard. We're going to cover the country too, and give some score predictions for all the games. And then on Thursday nights, we have a show called Crossover. Great show because we bring in people that would be rivalries of West Virginia and maybe rivalries of somebody else that West Virginia plays. So like an Ohio State, for instance, could easily be a rival with West Virginia, but also could easily be a rival with someone like a Kansas State, right? There could be
a State
or Cincinnati or something. So that's why we call the show Crossover. That's Thursday nights at 8:00. I have really encouraged you because we take call-ins during that time as well, so you can come in and talk to other Big 12 fans and even fans out of the Big 10 and stuff like that when we do that one. So, but for tonight, I'm going to have to shut this one down. Caden, you have anything else, brother?
Nothing much, but I just want to say to all the Big 12 fans and all the West Virginia fans, especially on here, West Virginia fans, listen to me very clearly. I foresee y'all being a good team, and I foresee y'all winning some good games, and I foresee y'all coming into the playoffs and give my Buckeyes a hard time, and that's coming from an Ohio State man. Coming on here, this show with the set of gall I got. Well, guess what? I got the gall to come on here and tell y'all that the Big 12 could have some problems with Ohio State. If y'all want to give us problems, you know what? Let's settle in a 60-minute college football. Let's settle it in a 60-minute game. We can play physical. We can play not physical. I mean, it'll go either way. Like listen. I'm the only one Ohio State fan here on this show that's got the gall to come on here and say what I got to say. All right. So let me be clear about that.
Yep. And I appreciate you coming on, Caden. So you have a great night. Come back with us Tuesday night. Come back with us Thursday night, and you'll enjoy yourself. Thank you, Caden. All right, guys. Guess I'm going to end this show for tonight. Do appreciate everybody tuning in. And I would stay with you, but I do a show at 10:30, a trivia show on Traveling Fools. I'm not sure that we're doing it tonight. I think we are. So at 10:30, if anybody wants to play trivia, I'll host the show over on Traveling Fools. Just type in Traveling Fools and Traveling Fools Trivia if you want to, and you'll find it. And come on over. We don't start playing until 10:30, 10:35, somewhere around there. So, all right, guys. Be sure to tune into every channel here on the Voice of College Football and subscribe to it. Everyone have a great night. We'll see everybody. We might go live tomorrow night. We do these little pop-up lives for you guys. Who knows what we'll do tomorrow night, but Tuesday night we will be here for sure. So we'll see everybody then. Have a great night.